So there's a few different flows that we're going to use here, mostly to do the on-page display and user experience that we're looking for, with one particular field doing the logic check. Let's go ahead and start specifically with creating the different flows that we know we're going to need. So first of all, we know we're going to need username is not available, error. Let's go ahead and duplicate that and say SKU is not available. Let's create username is available. Duplicate that. Call it SKU is available. Let's go ahead and create check if username is available. Let's create check if SKU is available. And something that you'll see in form validation in particular over time as you do this more and more is you're going to want some sort of actions on the fields itself to remove error messages that you see. So we're going to have a remove error message from username field. And then we're going to duplicate that and do remove error message from SKU field. So now we have all of the flows that we're going to want to be able to reference during the process of this form. So first, let's go ahead and click on the button and tie an event to a click on that button to check if username is available. So to check to see if something is unique in a database before you allow it to be maybe added to that database, what you actually want to do is issue a request from the database filtered by that new value, and then check to see if that value has anything in it. And so what we're going to use here is the if-then logic action inside of Bildr. So the if-then logic is a simple logic test. It checks to see if a condition is true, and if so, it runs something. If not, it runs a different flow. So again, we're going to make a request from the data collection. So we have the new unique values that we created earlier. We're going to request the field username to be sent back. We could technically request for anything we want here, but we're going to, in this case, just request for username. And then we're going to filter the username field by the new value that we're requesting to see if it's unique or not. And then finally, we're going to switch from a JSON array to a comma separated array. So oftentimes when you get data, you get it in the format of a JSON array, which has brackets around it. And so by switching to comma separated, we're removing the brackets and we would only have commas between values. And because we know we're looking for a specific value and only asking for one specific field, we're not going to have any commas in it. It's just going to return either the username that matches it, or it's going to return nothing. So again, the logic that we want to check is we're going to go request this. If nothing comes back, we know that username doesn't yet exist. And I can confirm that the username is available. Alternatively, if something does come back, I know that username is not available. So when the username is available, I want to go ahead and, like we said, I want to do two things. I want to update the button with that successful style class. New successful button. I'm going to add it to the check if usernames button. I'm also going to update the button text itself, just saying username is available. So great, we have that. Next, let's go to the not available one. So what we want to do is we want to give the user that front end feedback, hey, this is not available. So let's go ahead and add a error field style class to that field. So earlier we had that pink background on it. So it's going to draw their attention directly to that field and say, hey, you know what, this field is not valid. There's an error. And then we're also going to show the error text so they know what error it is. If there was potentially different errors, I could actually change and update the text for a specific error message if I wanted to. But in this case, I just wanted to make sure I'm showing that username is not available message. Now, the final thing that we mentioned earlier that we want to do is we want to remove this messaging from this error messaging if the user is trying to change it. And the two ways to do that I like to do is on a key up event. So when someone types a button and pulls up their finger, this flow is triggered at that moment. And so we're going to remove the error messaging from username field when that happens. And then we're also going to, just to cover all our bases, under key codes, we're going to include a backspace key code, because sometimes backspaces are treated a little bit differently than a normal key up. And so we're also going to trigger the same value of removing the error message from the field. And now let's go ahead and remove the style class of new error field from the enter username text and hide the error text that we created as well. So now that we've created the logic, check, and forms for the username, let's just go ahead and replicate for the SKU. So let's go over to the check if SKU is available button. Let's click on that. Let's add the check if SKU is available flow. Click add action. Again, we're going to do the if then logic check. We're going to make a request from our data collection. In this case, we're going to just return the SKU. We're going to filter that SKU request by the value in the SKU input field. And we're going to make sure we're just requesting the comma separated. We're going to update it. So we're going to just test against an empty value. If it is empty, we know the SKU is available. And if it's not, we know it's not. So we're going to update SKU is available. If it is, we're going to add the style class to the button. We're going to update the button to say what we want. Next, we're going to go to SKU is not available. We're going to add the errors messages and style classes to the SKU field. We're going to show the message. And then the final thing we need to do is on the key ups, we need to remove the errors from this key field. On the key code of backspace, we need to also do that. And then we need to add the logic to remove the style class for the error and hide the error code. The final thing to just test this out is assign it a URL route. So we're going to add a new URL route, new unique value check. Look at that. We just checked to see if this was unique. And we're going to do new form validation page, and create that new URL. You see it created right here. And I'm going to go ahead and open it in a new tab. We've got some okay shape to these. I would say I'll feel a little better if we make these a little bit smaller. And instead of spreading them out, let's go ahead and do evenly spaced instead. So now we can see they're evenly spaced, not pushed quite as far on the outsides of the pages. And so now we're ready to do our validation. So we've got our username right here. We're going to hit, let's do Josh. Oh, that already exists. We did put that in there. And Mark, Drew, and Dorian, all already existing. Now let's add Cora. Oh, because we didn't add Cora earlier, you can see that it validated it because there was no Cora there, and it allowed us to go ahead and confirm that it was available. So now let's check for SKUs. We have 1, 2, 3. We already created that. 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. Already created that. But let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all in one. That SKU is available, it doesn't exist, and it lets us create it. So in this video, we created a quick, simple form, added error messages and simple logic based off of if a specific data point that you're trying to input into that field already exists inside of your database.